Who here loves to help other people? Amazing. May I please have a volunteer come up? Oh, I thought this was like a helping culture. No one wants to help me? No? Okay, all right. Please, could you please come up? Sweet. Thank you, Mohammed. Nice to meet you. Leon. Awesome. May I also have one more volunteer to come and help us? CG, thank you so much. Please come onto the stage. Thank you. Awesome. Thanks, CG. Okay, Leon. So, first things first. What we're going to do is we're going to bring this chair over here.
Are you going to hypnotize me?
I am not going to hypnotize Leon, but I will ask you for help. Could you please lift this chair as high as you can?
Sure.
Yeah, as high as you can. Okay, all right, cool. Okay, Leon works out. Cool. Sweet, thank you.
I don't even.
Yeah. Hey, walks to the fridge still count, okay? They help in here 7 years. CG, if you could please have a seat. Thank you so much. All right, Leon, now lift the chair as high as you can.
Okay. Sorry about this.
Okay, all right. Cool. So, how many of us acknowledge that we love to help other people, but when it comes to asking for help, we suck at it? So, Leon, what could you have done here differently?
Could have asked for help.
Wow. Okay, so let's do it. All right.
Everybody now.
You're gonna take the other side.
Just you.
Just lift with your legs. Just from here. We're just gonna pick it from here. Nothing too high. Okay, so we can lift slowly. Great. Thank you, Leon, so much.
All right. So, enough with the theatricals. Just wanted to prove a point that when it comes to asking for help, it can be very intimidating. A lot of times, we know we should be asking for help, but we don't even think to ask for help. And I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the way that the society has created us, where we all raise our hand to help someone, but anytime we are in need, we refuse to ask for help. This story is all about asking for help, and at the same time, an opportunity to boast what graduates from Civic Tech TO look like and the process that we've been through over the years. So, handy clicker. For those wondering, what is Women in Color? We are a nonprofit with a mission to advance and amplify underrepresented folks in tech. For most of you who were here early on while we're still incubated within Civic Tech TO, it was all around focusing on women and people of color at tech-related events. Of course, we've been transitioning a lot. We've been changing our positioning and pivoting, and we'll get more into that. But for now, just to give you a high-level aspect of what Women in Color is, this is us. So, 2016, January comes along. I am getting frustrated. I'm learning about this thing called feminism, and from the sounds of it, it sounds really good to me, but I don't understand how it works for me as a man. I am confused and conflicted, but I do see the opportunity here to do something to help other people come to the surface, gain visibility, and speak on their behalf. I have certain privilege as a man, and I want to use my privilege as a man and spend that privilege onto those who don't have the same privilege as me. At the same time, I also recognize that I am a person of color, also with a very, very Muslim name named Muhammad, and also Allah at the end of it. So for those wondering, I am the prophet and the God. So take that if you ever have to go through airport security next time. All right? So learning about feminism, learning about my own privilege and lack thereof, and just getting frustrated overall and going to tech events, and I'm noticing it's always these straight white dudes that are speaking. It's as if experts don't look like women or aren't women. It's as if experts aren't people of color. It's as if experts aren't members of the LGBTQI+ community. So what's going on? Clearly, the issue isn't that they don't exist. They clearly do. I mean, over 50% of Toronto's population would identify as people of color, yet for some reason, it's always straight white men. It's confusing. So this was the first tweet that got us started. This tweet started out with a little bit of hope, of course. I asked for help in terms of understanding, is it weird if a guy, especially a brown guy, is talking about how many women are at an event and how many people of color are? Is it strange for a guy to just show up and to speak on women's behalf to support them? Or is there something wrong with it? Of course, after doing some back and forth talking and learning, I was told it's completely okay. If anything, it's encouraged that men speak up for women when women are told to be quiet down. So men in the crowd, please speak up for women that you meet, and even those that don't mean anything to you, but are strangers to you. Anyway, I'm digressing. Furthermore, this idea started off with a Twitter account. Twitter account is tweeting all these stats about how many people at an event are women and how many are people of color. At the same time, my CTO at the company I was working at back then mentioned, it's like, hey, you are doing nothing but identifying problems. Like, what is your solution? And I was like, whoa, Mike, you are absolutely right. Of course, had he told me that now, I'd be like, why is it my job to like find a solution? Like, I'm already oppressed as it is. You have the privilege as the CTO to do something. Of course, he didn't definitely mean that or in that manner, but it's a different topic, conversation we'd be having. Nonetheless, I decided, let's ask for help again. So we said, hey, we're looking for women, we're looking for people of color. If this is something that you identify as, please sign up to this type form. People started signing up, and it's like, okay, there's definitely momentum here. Soon after, come along, April 28th, I reached out to Jessica Galang from BetaKit, and I was like, hey, I'm working on this website with a colleague of mine who I also asked for help on building this website. What do you think of it? Next thing you know, we are published in BetaKit. For those who don't know, BetaKit is a national publication that covers all things tech in Canada. So for us to be featured in 3 months in, that was an amazing milestone, and it would not have been possible if I didn't reach out and ask for help. Moving on, 2017 comes along, and as all this stuff has been happening, as you can see, a lot of that started from a place of anger and frustration. I was really angry and I was really frustrated. But what was worse is I did not know what to do with this anger or frustration. Yes, I'm starting this website. Yes, I'm tweeting about these events. But all it did was mess with my mental health. It just messed with my own ability as a person. And it was just very hard. And then at one point, it just got to a point where somebody pointed out, and very accurately, is that, hey, like, you are doing these stats, but those are based on your assumptions of if that person identifies as a woman, or if that person identifies as a person of color. Like, how do you know? Have they identified to you? Are you just going based on their name or their appearance? And I was like, holy shit, you are absolutely right. I have been doing this wrong. My intentions were good, but intentions and actions are two different things, and it's your actions what matter. And that put me through a path of depression. Depression is not something we love to talk about, and mental health in general we don't love to talk about as a society, and I think that needs to change. But nonetheless, I'll talk more about it. So I recognize all the stuff that I've been doing with great intentions have not been done in the right way. I also recognize that I'm going down this hole that is only getting greater and greater, and there's something I need to do in regard to how I need to overcome this anger and this frustration that I've been feeling. I need to shift that mindset around. If you, of course, go through my tweets from 2 years, almost 3 years now ago, I don't encourage it, but if you want to, you will see I was a very angry person, because to be very frank, there is no like workbook or playbook or guideline as to what advocacy is like. I mean, why am I just learning about what male gaze is like when I'm like 20-year-old man and have already gone through like elementary school, high school, college, university? What is causing us to talk about all these different things so late in our game? And then when we are to that point, there aren't that many resources or help really that's available to guide you down the right path. And even then, a number of these help come from a place of biases. We all hold our own biases. So what can we do to change? I don't know the right answer, and I'll be very frank with you. But the best thing I can do is to understand yourself as a person and to give yourself the ability to understand what is important and meaningful to you. And for me, it was very interesting that from the point when I went into depression, and you can even see it on the Twitter, the Twitter feeds just kind of started getting quiet, and you'll only see maybe a few retweets that somebody pings women in color or talks about another event, but there's not much happening. And that's just because I couldn't comfortably come to the table with a level-headed mindset to be like, I'm ready to get back into this, because I didn't feel I was ready. I didn't know what to do about it. And that's when getting tweets after tweets from different people, it's like, hey, women in color, look at this event. Hey, women in color, what are you doing about this? Hey, women in color, can you like improve your website? Because I'd love to sign up. So many things. And I was like, clearly there's a need for it here, but I don't know how to go about it. And that's when I came across Civic Tech TO. And I was explained that if I come to Civic Tech TO, I can actually pitch an idea in front of a group of people, and some of them would actually help me bring that idea to life. And I was like, this makes no sense. How much do I have to pay them? It's like, no. It's completely volunteer driven. It's like, what do you mean it's volunteer driven? It's like, yeah, like you're telling me a developer who could get like 6-figure salary would just want to give up their time. You're telling me a designer who also could be getting 6 figures would give me their time. You're telling me somebody who's like a marketing expert's gonna give me the time. This makes no sense. Like, why would people just want to like go out and help on this project of mine that I have just because like I'm asking for help? How strange is that concept, right? It's like anytime you give something to somebody, or anytime somebody gives you something, it's like, okay, what do you want in return, right? We have that idea that to get, that you have to give, or to give, you have to get. And that concept didn't sit. Nonetheless, I came to Civic Tech TO and I went up. Actually, no, I didn't go up. You know why? Because the first time you're at Civic Tech TO, you have to go to your Civic Tech TO 101 class. So that was like a very I think it's planned, to be very honest. It's like they don't want you to have what you can get the first time. They want you to come back again and you get into the habit of it. So my first time I came to Civic Tech TO, didn't go to it. Second time I came, I got to pitch. And that's where I met Sharon. So Sharon was very interested and excited in this idea. But at the same time, we weren't really sure what the scope of the project looked like. We didn't really know what the technological aspect of it looked like. We didn't really know what could be possible as a volunteer-driven initiative. That said, there's a lot we did, and I'll let Sharon talk about it.
Thanks. So I came in sort of like right at the beginning when Mohammed came and pitched the idea for Women in Color. And for the entire next year, we showed up pretty much every Tuesday night, gave our pitch, got new volunteers, repeat volunteers as well, and we sort of slowly started piecing together the website. So I want to talk about a couple of things that we learned about working with volunteers, asking for help during our time at Civic Tech. Honestly, a big thing was that every week you get a new shot at making your ask. So every week you get to stand up and do your pitch. Every week it needs to be fresh, it needs to be motivating, and I think we got pretty good at sort of distilling what is the essence of the project and what is it that we're looking for. So that was super, super helpful. And the other thing that we struggled with was making it easy to sort of onboard new volunteers and get them up and running right away. So I'm sure most of you are familiar with kind of the way that Civic Tech works. There's competition between the different projects a little bit. Like, people go from one project to another, and when someone shows up at your table, you want them to be able to contribute right away and do something useful right away. So we had to work really hard to, get our back end Dockerized and make our front end like a one command startup. And it was still, even like with the technological challenges aside, it's really hard to get people sort of into the fold, I guess. So we had to work a bit on that, like sort of building the culture, getting people interested. And again, the great thing is that every week you get a new shot. Like, every week there's new volunteers, you're onboarding people all the time, and you kind of get to perfect your approach. And I think lastly, a big thing for us was understanding how what we could do for our volunteers as well, like what motivates people to help out. Once they show up and they're like, yeah, I want to help with this, Is it because they just believe in the cause? Is it because they want to learn something? Is it for networking purposes? So I think it was really valuable for us to be able to talk to people every week, hear their feedback about the project, and understand like what is it about them that interests them, what hooks them in, and what keeps them coming back week after week. So I think in the end we had a lot of volunteers that kind of like came on, did like one feature or one bug fix, and then would move on to another project, and maybe like do something with another project, come back. And so that's something that we kind of had to learn how to structure our project around and our workflow around, was having really like bite-sized pieces that people would come in and do, and then if they disappear, that's fine, and you know, we kind of build that into our process. So yeah, now that we've kind of left Civic Tech TO, we were basically here for the time that it took to build the initial website, and then so I think since when did we stop? Yeah, about a year ago. So since then, we've been getting volunteers from other sources, and I'm gonna let you talk about that.
So, for those wondering, what is this? That's actually a screenshot for the commits made to our GitHub repo, and that essentially is showing the amount of people that were coming up and actually volunteering and making commits to our project. There was actually a number of more people on the bottom, but of course, I wanted to make sure everyone could see the big graph and actually be able to make sense of it, so that's why they're cut off. But nonetheless, it was really weird to be coming in front of to an event at first and going up on the stage and then asking for help and be like, hey, can you help me with this thing? Because like I think this really has the opportunity to change the world. And of course, if you asked me that about almost 3 years ago, I would have thought like, hey, this thing would probably be a Twitter account forever. But then it slowly turned into this directory for speakers in Toronto. And then with the new launch that we had, it turned into a platform for subject matter experts in Canada and the United States. At the same time, it has grown quite a bit since our launch, coming in 2018, this year alone. And again, this wouldn't be possible if we weren't asking people for help. And I feel like coming to Civic Tech TO every Tuesday just kind of ingrained us in the idea that it's okay to ask for help. Because like worst thing somebody can do is like, hey, I don't have the time today, but I can come help out like on Slack or something, and you're like, oh yeah, people can help in any way that they want. Like help is help, so long as the work that gets done. Let's ask for help as much as we can. So we did, and we ended up on the front page of Toronto Metro. That's thanks to Luke, who is not in the audience, but it is a regular here at Civic Tech TO. He put us in touch with the editor at Toronto Metro. We told our story, and they magically made us look like the part-time models that we are on the front page. This was actually January 2nd, so everyone that's going back to work after New Year's Eve gets to see our faces like on this metro, which was amazing. It got to tell our story. The really interesting thing was that we thought that this would be it, but when we went onto their website, we were also on their front page on the website, but then they also have like sister sites, which also circulated so we were getting all this traffic, and our news site hadn't launched yet. So it was like, oh crap, okay, all right. So, but nonetheless, it really put a fire underneath us to be like, okay, we need to get our site out. Then we finally decided that it's time we should register as a non-profit, and we became an official federally registered non-for-profit as of March 2nd this year. This wouldn't have been possible either if, again, we didn't ask for help, and for quite a majority of the part, it was asking around folks here at Civic Tech TO. Because if you look around, there's a number of different folks here who have gone through this process and are able to point you in the right direction and able to coach you on this. I was able to do this myself for about $260 and change. I can tell you the exact same process, but I still advise you to talk to a lawyer if your stuff is a lot more complicated than mine. Just because when I went to the lawyers, it was like $2,200, $2,500, and I was like, we're not for profit. We just like we're bootstrapping this. We have no money. Like, nonetheless, again, ask for help, even if it's like something that you're like, no one will know here. They may not know, but they might know people that who would be able to help you. And then we finally launched our site, and we asked again for a lot of help. in terms of getting awareness spreads. As soon as we launched our site, we saw a spike in our traffic, and that was really amazing to get. This, of course, would not have been, this is an actual screenshot of like us on the day of the launch. We got quite a bit of awareness and social media bump around it, which was great. We are now, as a result, expanded to about 7 or 8 cities in Canada and about 13 in the United States, so about 20 in total in both countries. Then we decided that we should really officialize this idea of asking for help and started creating a volunteer program. And that for us was very interesting because we had an application form which you had to fill out. And at that point, we had already graduated from Civic Tech TO2. So it's like, how do we fill this gap of having people that come in and help us out? And how can we solidify that? Since then, what's been interesting is that we went from being about 2-3 people to a little over 30 people in about a month or so. Like our volunteer group just grew, and like our Slack group is like, whoa, our Slack group has so much activity. But what was interesting about it is that when you go to that mass scale, there's a lot of stuff you have to figure out in terms of governance and operations. It's like we have to figure out what our process is. Kristen's here in the audience, not to point her out, but she knows that it's like, oh shit, okay, we have to figure out process now. We have to figure out, like Sharon brought up a great point about, okay, no, we need teams. We need a product team, we need a marketing team, we need an events team. We're like, that actually makes sense. We understand now why large corporations have those departments. Like when you're just like hacking away, like it doesn't make sense. But when you start growing and when you're responsible to, for the success of the person being able to contribute or be able to get something done, there's a lot of pressure on you to deliver, right? And it was, again, asking for a lot of help and like, hey, how have you structured this? So reaching out to other organizations really helped us out as well too. Then we hosted our first event. We never hosted an event. Unfortunately, it was on the same day as Civic Tech TO, so love you. And this turned out to be a massive success. Like all of these people, we reached out to them. It's like, hey, we're hosting this event. This is kind of the idea. Would you mind helping us out? Would you want to be a speaker on our event? They're like, yeah, we love to like give back to the community. We would love to talk about our experiences becoming a manager. And you're just like, holy crap, like this is amazing. Like people just keep showing up. And this was a sold out event hosted at Travel Scale, which was extremely, extremely, extremely validating of what we've been working on. What was really interesting is that we went from idea to launch in a month, with ticket sales only open for 2 weeks and still being sold out. So again, it was so amazing to see everything coming together just through sheer support from volunteers and the people that have been following us. Then we decided we'll do a speaker boot camp and keep the ball rolling. And again, this would not have been possible if we didn't reach out to folks again as well. So here we had to essentially met with, okay, I'm losing my train of thought. I met with Chanel McFarlane. If you don't know her, please look her up. She's amazing, top 25 women of influence, and recently also quoted in Bustle. Again, an amazing, amazing, amazing human. I met up with her for lunch. It's like, hey, I have this idea of creating a speaker boot camp that could really enable women, people of color, and LGBTQ+ folks to be able to amplify their voices further. Is this something you can help with? And within a month, we went from an idea, month and a half from idea to hosting our very own boot camp. With again sheer volunteer-driven effort, sheer asking people, it's like, hey, is this something you would want to sponsor us for? And just raising money that way, sheer just learning and again growing through that, and just being able to come to a success point where like it's a 2-day workshop. By the second day, people were crying, which was I would not have assumed that. And anyway, I'm digressing. Hosted another event, another success. These are all the teachers that came out. They all, of course, gave up their time and money. Like these people would charge you a lot of money to show up at your event to speak, and the fact that they were able to just come in and just give us support and be able to like give back to the community and train students that came to our speaker bootcamp was just amazing. Like I think about 3-4 of those, not including me, are TEDx speakers and actually get paid for a living to speak. So it was a huge like validation of what we've been doing. Again, all of this would not have been possible if I had never showed up to Civic Tech TO and asked for somebody to help me on this tiny project, an idea that I had. And if Sharon's like, I'm gonna go work on this project, and for whatever reason decided she's gonna stick all the way through till launch. So like it wouldn't have been possible. And as we go into 2019, we actually partner up with Bridge School. So Bridge School provides a 12-week boot camp for women and non-binary folks. It's completely free. It's for folks who are looking to level up their front-end development skills, and they also offer design skills. Nonetheless, trying to figure out how we can bring in our own volunteers, how we can fill the gaps since graduating from Civic Tech TO, and still have that development traffic flowing. We recognize that there is really the potential for us to partner with them in terms of being able to provide a project that their students can work on in that 12-week boot camp. And at the same time, once they graduate, they can continue working on it. And then when they go for job interviews or whatever have you, they're able to reflect back on an actual product that's live that hopefully will help them get that job and be able to show the work that they've done. So for those wondering what this is actually a job board that we'll be launching in 2019. You'll notice that there is a few things happening on the side. And the idea is like, how can we create a much more inclusive workplace? You'll hear more about that. I won't get into it, but I did want to talk about that story about Bridge. At the same time, it hasn't been announced, but some of you might have had whispers. Please don't tweet it yet. We recognize that calling ourselves women in color and then going around talking about creating an inclusive tech ecosystem, how can that be possible if we view gender in a very binary form by having women in our name? It's something that hasn't sat well with us, but we haven't figured it out. It's like, okay, women in color and queer, or women with an X in it, or trying to figure out what we can do to change our name. And we're not changing it to COLOUR, don't even try it. It's gonna stay a color, but nonetheless, recognizing that here we are wanting to create an inclusive space, but we're othering a portion of the LGBTQI plus community. How does that work? Like that doesn't reflect what we're trying to say. So as a result of that, we are actually rebranding to Modern Leaders, and that'll be something that we'll be announcing on February 28th at an event coming near you. There will be more announcements that I can't get into yet, but just wanted to give you the heads up on that. With that said, what questions are there?
Where do your speakers speak at? Like,
yes. So far our speakers have spoken in Toronto, in the United States, in Europe. They go from anywhere from small meetups all the way to large conferences. Additionally, we've also had folks from our website go on to speak on like national news, like BNN, for example, when they're in South Korea, I think banned cryptocurrency or something. Folks from BNN reached out and had one of our speakers on their programs. Additionally, we've also had Code for Canada that reached out to us looking for board members, possible board members that they can utilize from our site. We've also had companies that have been using our website to actually hire folks, and that's why the job board is coming from. It's because we have essentially a platform of diverse subject matter experts that for most part is being overlooked because we're calling it a speaker directory, right? But if we just change it to be like, hey, this is a platform of diverse subject matter experts. If LinkedIn is your resume and Modern Leaders is your portfolio, like simply changing that positioning is going to help think about what our website and what our platform is doing very quickly. Yes. Yeah. So they have not been forked yet. So the question is, have any of our Git repos been forked? The answer is no. We did have Venture Out, for example. For those who do not know, Venture Out is an annual conference that takes place focusing on the LGBTQI plus community, trying to bring students and mentors together, and also having a full day, 2-day conference to provide more topics related to that. So they reached out to us because they wanted to fork our repo and figure something out. At the same time, we realized that it made no sense for them to fork if all we needed to do is just be more inclusive of LGBTQ plus on our site. So that didn't happen because we're going this new direction or launching direction. But for anyone that's interested, you're welcome to fork our repo. You could make almost whatever website you want. Maybe it's like you like pizza a lot, so it's a recipes of pizza. It could work that way. Or if you want to create your own platform of like, I don't know, Black speakers, you can do that. If you want a platform of queer speakers, you can definitely do that. If you want a platform of whichever one you want to build, you can definitely go and build that. It's completely open source. We do encourage you to contribute what you learned back, so we can keep that repo growing. What other questions are there? Yes.
I noticed that on the site there's you can add yourself as a speaker, or a person can. Is it the only way that you add data? Is there other ways that the data set grows or is edited or updated? Do you have any control over it?
So the question is, people can sign up themselves. Do we control any of that data?
I mean, is that the only way that that a person is added to that list? Like, how did that data set get created and how does it get maintained? And
Yes. Yeah. So the question is, for everything that you see on the website, it would be nice if would you be able to open up the link to the website, please? So the question is like, what happens, or how does all the data on our website appear? It's all self-created because you are self-identifying. So when you're signing up, we ask you if you identify as a woman, we ask you if you identify as a person of color, we ask you if you identify as a member of the LGBTQ+ community, and we also ask you what your gender pronouns are. So yeah, you can go through and search for any topic you like, even like let's say Civic, for example. So yeah, you identify all those things. The only things that we do not let you filter by, if you go co-founder Civic. So the only thing we won't be doing is we don't let you filter by finding out if somebody identifies as a member of the LGBTQ+ community, and that's just to ensure there is no doxing, no mail, or any of that happening. And plus, why do you need to know that? And if it's a matter maybe that you're a venture out and you want to reach out to those folks, get in touch with us. We know who those people are, and we'll send out an email on your behalf. But for now, yeah, you can definitely filter down by cities. You can filter down their gender and racial identities, as well as finding them by their name or topic. What other questions are there? Yes.
I was just wondering what your funding model looks like. Are you kind of like going through like event sales? Are you going for grants? And do you think you can reach like a sustainable solution?
Yeah, so the question is, what is our fundraising model? How are we making money? So to be completely transparent, I work full-time as a UX lead at Tulip, and Sharon works full-time in her own freelance/consulting business. So this is definitely all a volunteer-driven project. Even for example, Kristen, who's sitting here, I don't know who else is here from the Slack group, but it's all very much volunteer-driven at this point. We have raised money through sponsorships. Last year was the first time we went through that process. We raised money from TravelScale and Wealthsimple. Both of those companies gave us money, and they also gave us their space to host the two events that we previously mentioned. The first one was Becoming a Manager, the second was Managing at Scale. Additionally, we also charge people to attend those events. So we had a pay what you can sort of setup where people can pay $20, $30, $40. Plus, they could also have the opportunity to sponsor someone else to attend the event. And for those who pricing was a barrier, they could email us, and many did, and we were able to have them come in for free. So that's what we did for those events. We also did a speaker boot camp. That was also a paid event. It was $350 that we're putting the price tag on it, which is still far cheaper. Closest thing we can find was one in Vancouver for $1,000, one in the United States for $500, and another in Toronto here for $2,000. So ours for $350 was a grab. Nonetheless, if you couldn't afford $350, we offered subsidized ticket at 50% off for $175. We raised money through that means, as well as also had additional sponsors come in for that, enough to keep everything covered and still make enough money to then put towards future operations. Last question, please.
We were asking to do kind of steps like Toastmasters.
Yeah, so I think that's going back to, so the question was, does anybody ask us to do Toastmasters? I think if Toastmasters were creating an inclusive like space for people to attend and show up, we would not be in business with our speaker boot camp. So that's alone is the biggest differentiator. Sorry, Toastmasters, but it's true.
That's why I asked. I was like, this would be great if it was like what Toastmasters does, but
Well, the thing is that this community wouldn't need to have this if Toastmasters just did a great job at creating an inclusive space for everyone. Yeah, so to that point, we are looking to do more speaker boot camps in the new year. We are also looking to open up chapters in other cities to lead our speaker boot camps, so it's no longer limited to Toronto. We recognize like this idea is not brand new, anyone can come steal it. So why have them go through the hurdle? Why not just make it easier by giving them essentially a playbook for them to just do it a lot faster, right? Same thing with a website. If somebody's like, hey, I want a website for LGBTQ+ speakers or subject matter experts, great, there's our code, it's all on GitHub. You can go download it from there, fork it, build it on it. If you have any issues, Sharon's right here, she will be more than happy to help you. So if you can put us out of business, that's only doing like what we want to do, just like create a much more inclusive tech ecosystem. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. It's great to see people who are at Civic Tech and have really made good. We could probably spend the whole evening listening to the speech, but unfortunately that would mean we wouldn't get any work done, which is really a big part of the point of this evening. So we're going to move on to, first of all, announcements, and secondly, pitches. Now the announcements are announcements of news, jobs, events, and other things. And I'm going to start out with a very practical announcement, which is there is a single gender bathroom just outside the door, and the other bathrooms, which I believe are gendered, are down the hall and around the corner, if I recall correctly.
Men's around the corner, ladies, women's.
Oh, thank you, I stand corrected. Okay, so with those of us who have announcements, then